So what if I told you that one of the tightest, most aggressive thrash bands of the late 80s never got the recognition that they deserved? Welcome back to Headbangers History. This is where we break down the legends, the lost gems of heavy music. Today we're diving into Atrophy. An Arizona thrash band that had the speed of Slayer, the technicality of Testament, and the political bite of Sacred Reich from their hometown. So why didn't they blow up like their peers? And could they still make a comeback? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Headbangers History, where riffs reign supreme and legends are born. Let's dive into the heart-pounding history of hard rock and heavy metal. Atrophy was formed in Tucson, Arizona in 1986 during the golden age of thrash. So while the Bay Area had Metallica and Testament, and Germany had Creator and Sodom, Atrophy was part of a small but important Arizona thrash scene alongside Sacred Reich and Flotsam and Jetsam. In 1987, Atrophy's demo, Chemical Dependency, caught the attention of thrash fans and labels alike. Their sound was sharp. I think it was fast, relentless. Just imagine a mix of Exodus's high-speed riffing from the early albums and the social commentary of Nuclear Assault. It didn't take long for him to land a deal with Roadrunner Records, one of the best and biggest metal labels of the time. And in 1988, they dropped their debut album, and it absolutely ripped. Socialized Hate. So Socialized Hate came out in 88, and it was a thrash classic that it went underrated, but it was their debut. It was, it had breakneck speed, drumming and riffing as fast as anything in 1988. It had the political lyrics tackling war, addiction, government corruption. It had a technical edge. It wasn't just fast. It was tight. It was intricate. Tracks like Chemical Dependency and Socialized Hate definitely showed off their ability to blend pure aggression with an absolute message. But despite this, in a deal with Roadrunner, they just didn't get the same push as other thrash bands. Still, Atrophy had another chance to prove themselves, and in 1990 they delivered again with a ripping album. It was called Violent by Nature. It was 1990. It was their last, but it was a killer album. And by 1999, you got to realize thrash was at its peak, but it was also getting more competitive. Atrophy dropped Violent by Nature, an album that refined their sound while keeping it fast and brutal. It had Puppies and Friends. Now, that doesn't sound thrash or metal, but it's a savage anti-animal cruelty track with one of their best riffs, Slip Through the Cracks. A melodic yet heavy thrasher about society's failures. And then there's Too Late to Change, another politically charged ripper. The album definitely showed Atrophy growing as musicians. They weren't just playing fast, they were writing killer songs with hooks and sharp lyrics. But then they just disappeared. So what happened? Why didn't Atrophy blow up? They had everything going for them. Great label, solid albums, killer sound. The problem was thrash metal was hitting that wall of the early 90s. Grunge was taking over, pushing metal out of the mainstream. Even death metal was rising, making thrash seem what people considered less extreme in comparison. So the label support faded. Atrophy never got the same promotional push that the bigger thrash acts received. By 93, Atrophy was done, no major drama, just bad timing, and perhaps an industry shift. And this happened to a lot of these bands, a lot. That's why we have this channel. So why do they still matter, even though they only put out 2 albums? I think they left their mark on thrash metal. I loved it. I burned that CD right up. Their blend of technicality, their aggression. It made them stand out to me. Their political and social lyrics. It kept them relevant, kept me reading that sleeve. They were one of Arizona's best thrash bands alongside Sacred Reich and Flotsam and Jetsam. 2 bands, one I already covered, Flotsam we're gonna cover. The good, bad news is Atrophy is back, but it was 2015 when they reformed with a mix of classic and new members. They'd never released anything new that I know of. They have been touring and teasing new music, so there could be an Atrophy album coming. I don't know, but I will keep you posted. So closing thoughts. Atrophy was one of thrash metal's greatest what-if stories. They had the talent, the aggression, and the songwriting skills, as did many other bands. But bad timing took them down. So if you love thrash metal and its history, rock and roll, hard rock, whatever you want to call it, just tell me you've heard of Atrophy if you had. Tell me your favorite song. Tell me a story. Fill me in. I don't know everything. I just work on this really hard. But this is Headbangers History, and today we're celebrating Atrophy. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you soon. Welcome to Headbangers History, where riffs reign supreme and legends are born. Let's dive into the heart-pounding history of hard rock and heavy metal.